Greetings, my dear friends. It is enchanting to see you. In case we haven't been introduced before, I'm Stephen Clements, a writer, a gamer, and an appreciator of big brain activities in general. On this channel, I perform dramatic story readings, I provide role-playing game and movie reviews, and I get to talk to interesting people. In this episode, we're talking about Adventure Module HHQ2 Wizard's Challenge. Written for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition, this is part of the Challenge series, where the 4 main classes had a module dedicated to highlighting what makes them special and designed for a single player character and their dungeon master. This one is for wizards from level 2 to 5. And it gives the player character wizard a time to shine and earn XP on a solo or side quest. This is the final of the 4 entries of the first challenge series, and at some point in the future I will review the 4 of the second challenge series. First published in 1992 by original D&D publisher TSR, Wizard's Challenge plays to the brains a good wizard should have, and minimizes the brawn with an interesting plotline, namely a murder investigation where magic user bodies keep stacking up as time passes, and will include the PC if they don't rise to the occasion. Since the front cover has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the adventure, let's see what the back cover has to tell us. The village of Northbank was once a haven for mages of all talents and a magnet for hopeful apprentices. Its Wizards Guild was a respected center for instruction, study, and research. But mysterious circumstances caused the sudden demise of the guild several years ago and resulted in the deaths of some important members. And a ghostly figure now threatens the few surviving members of the guild. Wizard's Challenge is an Advanced Dungeons & Dragons adventure designed for a single character or a party of up to 3 members. It allows a wizard to be the center of the adventure and offers many role-playing opportunities such as spell research, component gathering, and forging important relationships with other wizards. This adventure is perfect for the wizard who needs experience, is looking for something more than crawling through dungeons, or is seeking a student or mentor. Is your character ready to accept the challenge? Intrigue and danger await! This sounds like an adventuring environment perfectly tailored for the PC wizard. As in published materials, that class tends to be rare. Any bandit can be a fighter, and armies are full of them. But a player-friendly association of wizards open to teaching and working with player character wizards was rare, so this is a nice change of pace. Taking a look at the credits page, we see this was written by Tim Beach. Beach works for TSR, Wizards of the Coast, Pinnacle Entertainment, and now himself at Beach House Games. He wrote a ton of 2nd edition TSR books for a variety of settings, including Al-Qadim, Dark Sun, Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, Maztica, Mystara, and Planescape. He also wrote entries in the lines of D&D Basic, Amazing Engine, if you even know what that was, Freelance Stuff, and Deadlands. I've read some of those works and found them to be enjoyable. It looks like Facebook is the best place to find him and his company, Beach House Games, and he is still at it, having just recently successfully funded a Kickstarter for a new game. For editor, we have Anne Brown. Brown began with TSR in 1989 as an assistant editor for Dragon Magazine. While she continued editing, she also wrote many adventures and supplements of her own, including the Greyhawk Adventures Falcon series and Ravenloft Ship of Horror. She was also a big advocate for the Greyhawk setting, which must have been a tough position to take after the ousting of Gary Gygax and top management's effort to ruin his baby setting. She also wrote a number of biographies aimed at middle schoolers, at least one of the Endless Quest Choose Your Own Adventure books, and more. Here I'm unsure if she missed a few points the other challenge series addressed, or if the challenge series format was continually evolving, so while not a perfect editing job, it's fine. She's on Facebook, where she posts funny cat pictures, so she seems swell. The irrelevant but intriguing cover art is by Eric Olson. Carl Waller does the interior art. While the first pieces we come across don't appear to have much to do with the module, later he gets his act together and includes several good pieces. However, Carl may have had a hard time with noses, and it looks like a Stephen Fabian piece snuck in towards the end. As in the other Challenge Series entries, John Knecht is our cartographer, and his maps both have character and are easy to read. The area map has 3-mile hexes, so this one does involve a lot of travel, which can be intimidating for a low-level wizard with 6 hit points. Oh, and special thanks to Tio and whoever that is for unspecified thinkable actions. As I'm about to be your crystal ball into the module, past here there be spoilers that may enervate your sense of wonder and disintegrate the joy of surprise, so consider this award. Or you can initiate yourself into the mystical secrets and swear an oath to run this game for your group, in which case proceed. At the outset, Beach advises that like the other Challenge Series modules, this can be played with more than one player and can be used for a non-wizard, but that requires an adjustment to be made that we'll discuss later. Beach also signals that this will play to publish materials for the class and suggests the DM use the Complete Wizard's Handbook to add variety and rewards wizards might want. Attention is paid to finding ways to better immerse the player in their role. Since second ed wizards are academic by nature, this module pulls out all the stops and takes every opportunity to bring that into the action, which is awesome. Unlike some of the Challenge Series entries, this one doesn't bother with asking the question, how do I hook my player character into this adventure? Nor does it start you off in the middle of the action. Instead, we get sprinkled throughout the book. Here's a town with experienced wizards you can learn from, so run with that if you want. And if you don't, there's this ghost wizard guy that's going to find and kill you, so figure it out. Chapter 1 gives us the key background NPCs and locations of interest in the village of North Bank, named imaginatively as it is, set on the north bank of the Prin River. Since this is a generic 2nd edition module, you can drop North Bank into any setting you want. The town feels lived in, and the NPCs ooze character despite getting 3-sentence descriptions at best. Once the seat of a powerful and affluent wizards guild, North Bank has suffered a major decline since the guild disbanded after the head wizard was caught experimenting on other members of the guild about 11 years ago. When most of the wizards who had come here to study and be among like-minded people ran off, they took their money with them. The north section of town, known as Old North Bank, is mostly abandoned, and a few wanderers, criminals, and squatters have settled in. The rest of the town is clean and well kept, as those who remain take pride in themselves and their town. But there is a longing for smarty-pants wizards to come back and tell everyone what to do, because the wizards had saved the town when they moved in the first place and made it a great place to live. This kind of awe towards wizards translates to how the townsfolk will treat the PC so long as the player character doesn't mess it up. 3 major wizards still live in town, and we get good home descriptions for them. To give you an idea of how tight the writing is, listen to these 5 sentences and tell me you don't know what this house and its owner are like. Home of Han Malson. This is a ramshackle 2-story house built of wood and stone. The wizard Han Malson lives here alone with his pet cat Shadow. The first floor holds a parlor, kitchen, dining room, and a walk-in closet. Han's bedroom, workshop, and library are on the 2nd floor. Han is not a good housekeeper, so he's a slob single guy that lives at home with his cat. He doesn't bother doing chores. We got all that. Then we move on to Chapter 2, which gives us full write-ups of the 3 major wizards that are going to play key parts in the murder mystery that unfolds. There's Kita Doroff, Han Malson, and Dar Malson. Kita is by training and temperament an enchanter, dabbles in potion making, and she is pleasant and friendly, which should immediately make your player uncomfortable that an attractive woman is talking to him and seems genuinely interested. Assure your dude that it will be over soon, because she gets murdered in the next chapter. Next we have Han Malson, the stoner of the group. A diviner, he probably specialized in divination magic to help find his front door keys he kept losing while out fishing. He's out of it most of the time, has a crush that dares not speak its name for Kita, and kicks the whole adventure into high gear by being offed. Finally, we have Dar Malson, the oldest, most powerful, and most Aspergery of the 3. He hates people, prefers the company of his books in his basement, and may be the key to the PC solving the quest. He's also Han's older brother. Dar was the one who exposed the last guildmaster's grisly experiments, can help the player piece together what's going on, and knows the key locations the wizard will have to trek to in order to finish the quest. A neat thing about all 3 of the write-ups is that they include the possibility of the PC asking one of these more experienced wizards to apprentice to them, which I love for the role-playing opportunities. Sure, the player character wizard might learn a new spell or 2, but they can also have more reason to interact with these wizards, and the unfolding events in the story will just raise the dramatic stakes. Kita and Han get capped by default, so if the player develops a relationship with them, the desire for revenge and hurt of loss can drive the drama. Dar is a paranoid 9th level wizard. He'll probably be fine, but he'll gladly send his new apprentice to investigate while he hides in the basement. In Chapter 3, we get the timeline of what happens to who, when, where, and how in this module, along with the NPC reactions to the unfolding events. The bad things I already mentioned start when a spectral wizard called the Ghost King comes to town. When I say spectral wizard, I mean that literally. A specter that is a wizard. We even get a new monster write-up for it in the back. And it's pretty cool. The Ghost King's real name is Surisk, who in death as in life is a devoted apprentice of that exiled former head of the Wizards Guild named Kiristan, who is now a lich. So we finally get a lich who is successful at making the transition. He's not a failure like in the other challenge series. Surisk is Kiristan's emissary to North Bank on a quest to help build the lich's army of undead spellcasters by giving each of the wizards in town an offer. They can either accept immortality and unlimited power by becoming one of Kirastan's spectral wizards, or die. Surusk gives each spellcaster 3 days to think it over before calling again, and that's when the bad stuff happens. It all starts with the village alchemist, who on day 4 after the PC arrives in town, answers wrong, gets wrecked, and dragged off, leaving signs to be investigated. On day 3, Han is given the offer, and he may ask the PC's thoughts on eternal life. If asked why he posed the question, Han will say he had a vision of a world in which he could live forever. On day 6, Han decides to visit the world where that doesn't happen. Then another wizard is threatened. Surusk talks mad shit to the town priest, who pleads with the town for somebody else to fight the undead menace in their midst, and then day 10 has Surusk giving Kita the offer. The PC wizard gets their own visit on day 12, because the Ghost King is thorough. If the player character is not a wizard of some variety, the Ghost King will only approach when the PC starts getting involved. This is that one change we had to address. The offer they receive will be more like leave town or die, with no offer of eternal friendship and ice cream cones. Day 13 sees Kita thrown from wall to wall in her house and killed. Bear in mind that the timeline can be short-circuited at any point if the PC stops Surusk before he strikes again. If the player is on hand to help fight him off, Han and Kita could live. I like how the adventure contemplates the player's choices making significant changes to the base storyline. The timeline ends on day 14, so if your player hasn't figured it out by then, day 15 is when old Spectre is due for their return visit. So really the adventure ends on day 15 because he can absolutely thrash a lone wizard. Interestingly, the module points out the PC can agree to the offer. If they accept, Surusk takes them to the Lich's seaside fortress and casts a spell Create Spectral Wizard on them. From there, it's up to the DM to decide if you want the now undead PC to enter NPC land or keep going for what could be a really interesting campaign. As the Spectral Wizard monster write-up tells us, the PC can make the change and remain good or neutral, so it doesn't even have to become an evil campaign. An important thing to note is that as things get worse and more people are threatened, killed, and presumed dead, the NPCs all cower in the corner and hide. Despite the earlier write-ups suggesting several would be good companions to the wizard, only one is listed as willing to accompany the wizard if bought off with a magic sword the wizard can find in one of the side quests. Everyone else will give advice, money, and magic items, but the PC has to do all the work. Since an NPC could take charge from the player in Cleric's Challenge, I prefer this approach. Here I wonder if there was a page crunch and they had to leave out those NPCs previously indicated as wanting to work with the player. There's a sword for hire, a ranger in training, an experienced thief, and even a were-tiger, any one of whom would be a big help to the measly sack of hit points that is a low-level wizard. Chapter 4 sees the wizard begin his investigation by visiting the first victim's house, that of the alchemist. It seems that while she turned down the offer, the Lich used to be sweet on her, so Surusk abducts her rather than kills her. A few clues also point the PC to the fact that another wizard, known as the Hermit, lived further out in a cave, and that the Hermit and Surusk are in fact one and the same. Traveling to the cave, the wizard finds the place abandoned, but also full of tantalizing clues and goodies. Oh, and a bear. There's a fucking bear, which can absolutely wreck a wizard. Eventually, all signs will lead to Chapter 5, a showdown at the Tower of the Ghost King. Now using the abandoned wizard's guild headquarters as his own, Surusk is here. Befitting a wizard's challenge, the tower is hidden by an illusion, and judicious use of detect magic, a gem of seeing, or locate object is needed to get in. The place is designed with magic users in mind, so there is a levitation shaft from which flying wizards can mock the legs stuck taking the stairs. It is packed with cool magic items and spellbooks, so the abundant treasure may pale in comparison to the spellbook the player can accumulate from all this. The enemies present are sufficient to make a solo wizard proceed in nut-shrinking terror, but the challenges are very doable with smart play and a bit of luck. Surusk, though, is a very worthy end villain. He is completely willing to sweet-talk the player into accepting the offer, but if that doesn't work, he will throw down. This fight will not be easy. Hopefully, the wizard took advantage of the holy water, spell scrolls, and magic items the town had to offer before coming to the tower. If they were smart, they recruited that paladin, but this will still be a tough fight. Thankfully, unlike the level-draining enemies in the Cleric's Challenge, Spectral Wizards do not drain levels, but rather have a paralyzing touch, so our lone wizard won't have his soul ripped out of him. Should the wizard triumph, and hopefully they do, the module provides guidance on creating follow-up adventures centered on Surusk's master, the Lich Kiristan. Unfortunately, we don't get any write-ups on what happens in North Bank after the adventure, so it looks like no big reward for the player from the town for stopping the Ghost King killing all of their heroes. But let's be honest, the the player character just cleared out a cave laboratory and a Wizards Guild tower. So he's going to move right into those things and may never even visit the town again. If he can get groceries delivered by courier, those folks are never going to see his face one more time. Finally, in Chapter 6, Side Adventures, we get a number of short quests the DM can mix in to add variety. Allow the PC to earn XP, build relationships with the locals, and flex the player's brain power in how to investigate and solve the problems. I really like them. While Chapter 3 provides suggestions on when to work in each, the DM is free to use any, all, or none of them. The first side quest, entitled "There's a Monster in My Basement," has the wizard hunting down and wrangling strange animals that escape from the local zoo. And by the way, North Bank does have a zoo. The point is to capture and bring the animals back alive, but it can be a challenging set of encounters, possibly including a subterranean Mary chase. There's one with a badger that's been polymorphed into a black dragon, and hijinks ensue. Another dealing with a goblin raid, a search for rare spell components, random townsfolk asking the wizard for magical assistance, and magical research aimed at unearthing lost spells, inventing new ones, and making magical items. North Bank is perfect for the last one, since the place is riddled with craftsmen who make enchantment-ready items every day, and they've seen it all, they've done it all, they won't be surprised by any request your PC makes. The new magic section adds neat magic items, like a staff that makes anyone picking it up proficient in its use, because in 2E, you actually had to be trained in a weapon's use, unlike 5E's blanket categories. A ring of cantrips that does minor magical effects for free, because in 2E, there were no unlimited use cantrips. And ooze, slime, and jelly beans. I really like this one. They look like jelly bean candies, but when thrown turn into green slimes, gelatinous cubes, crystal ooze, gray ooze, and ochre jellies. These can be potent in a fight, and we even get rules on what happens if somebody eats them, because somebody inevitably will, either on purpose or the wizard will make them eat it by mistake. Either way, we get rules for it. We also get 2 new spells, Undead Familiar and Create Spectral Wizard. While I feel Undead Familiar is too high a level for what it does, it is cool. The module ends with the Spectral Wizard monster write-up, and I really like this alternative to the traditional Lich, because it offers unique features that Liches don't have. The last time I ran this, I dropped it into a demon-haunted Forgotten Realms after my group at the time TPK'd twice in back-to-back sessions during Out of the Abyss. This wasn't because I was a killer DM, it was because they were their own worst enemy in every way. Since they couldn't hack it in the Underdark, I moved them topside, but now they were having to deal with the complications of their player characters not having stopped the demonic incursion in the world below, and so now it's a demon-haunted Forgotten Realms. And the fact that the townsfolk are so friendly and helpful apparently really weirded out the players, and they chose to run into the demon-infested wilderness rather than stay here and finish the adventure. Like I said, they were a special group. Overall, I really like this one, and not just for the nostalgia factor of it being the only entry of the challenge series that I physically bought when it came out. It has interesting NPCs, it's well written, and it has a variety of encounters to deal with. It is right at the edge of being too difficult for a solo low-level wizard, but as I've said, with a bit of brains and luck, the player character can totally handle this on their own, which they'll have to do because, as the module says, no one's going to help them. I run it as is because nothing in it is really bad or broken. The only change that I made the last time I ran it was converting it to 5th edition, which is its own problem. The fact that it tailors everything it does in its pages specifically to the class that it's focused on shows that Beach and Brown wrote this thing like they meant it. Because of all the class-specific challenge series, this one I feel is the most tailored to the class it's for, and I think it's great. Have you ever run this module, or have you played in it? I would love to hear how that went, so please let us know in the comments below so we can talk about it. And if you enjoyed this review of Wizard's Challenge, I do enjoy it when people like and subscribe, so you know what to do. Just click those little magic buttons down there and help your brother out. And I thank you for your time, that you chose to spend it with me in Wizard's Challenge. And now that we're dear friends are soon to part, I wish you nothing but the best.